Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the webinar entitled Sustainability Certifications, Understanding Your Options. My name is Shalini from the Malaysian Plastic Manufacturers Association, MPMA, and I will be your MC this morning. To begin the webinar today, let me run through the etiquettes or rules of the webinar. You would notice that we have muted and turned off video of all participants. This is to ensure there are no disruptions to the speakers during the webinar. Participants may ask or post questions related to the presentations in the chat box below during the webinar. The speakers will only answer questions that are clearly written and based on the presentation. Kindly refrain from marketing your goods or services in the chat box. Kindly also refrain from posting comments or remarks to the questions posted in the chat box. The chat box is only for queries related to the presentation. The organizers reserve the right to remove participants who run afoul of the webinar etiquette. Ladies and gentlemen, the webinar today is brought to you by MPMA to highlight the significance of sustainability certifications as a tool to elevate companies' sustainability performance and the available options in the market. MPMA recognizes the importance of sustainability in businesses nowadays and strives to extend support to members in this area through various activities, including today's webinar. To provide further insight on today's webinar, I would like to invite Yang Berusaha Puan Noor Afifah, binti Abdul Razak, Deputy Secretary General Environment from Ministry of Environment and Water KASA, to give her opening remarks. Unfortunately, she's not able to join us online this morning, but Yang Berusaha Puan Noor Afifah had recorded her message to all participants through a video recording. MPMA would like to record its sincere thanks and appreciation to Yang Berusaha Puan Noor Afifah and KASA for the support. We will now play the video recording.
Good afternoon, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to welcome everyone to the Malaysia Plastic Manufacturers Association webinar on sustainability certifications. I would like to take this opportunity to thank and congratulate MPMA for hosting today's webinar, as well as to all members of Malaysia's plastic industry fraternity for the continuous support, not only in today's event, but more importantly in leading national plastic circularity agenda, because plastic production starts from all of you, the manufacturers. Ladies and gentlemen, plastic waste ends up in the environment primarily because of inadequate collection and treatment system, particularly in the developing world. Even in some countries, waste segregation is rare and recycling of municipal waste is very little. All this contribute to plastic waste leakage into the environment and testimony that companies of packaged goods must do their part and take responsibilities for their plastic products and packaging that goes into the market. This concept of extending producers' responsibility, known as EPR, is key in ensuring the success of circular economy implementation. Circular economy has the potential to be an important tool in addressing the current triple planetary crisis of climate, biodiversity, and pollution. By keeping resources in the loop for a longer period of time, we will reduce greenhouse gas emissions caused by the energy required to manufacture the products. Circularity will have a huge and positive impact further beyond environment. It will encompasses new business models, and the move to circularity entails measures that cover the entire product life cycle: design, production, consumption, waste management, and even their second life as secondary raw materials. It will revolutionize industry, enhance social inclusion, and provide more and better jobs. We are all aware that the shift to a circular economy will be a lengthy process. One of the prerequisites is that for people to have the technical skills and knowledge required for the circular transformation. It demands perseverance, a sustainable mindset, and active participation from industry stakeholders. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, Businesses all over the world are part of the solution when it comes to working towards a sustainable economy, and they have become an important factor in attaining global plastic circularity. Businesses and corporations must be encouraged to play an active role in defining the transition to a low-carbon, resource-efficient economy in order to increase demand for recycled materials. Standards, certifications, and accreditations that are developed in the context of a circular economy are in the domain of developing frameworks, guidances, supporting tools, and requirements for the implementation of activities of all stakeholders. Conformance in standards and subsequently certifications will aid in the utilization of sustainable resources and energy use while protecting consumers, workers, and the environment. It also serves as a tool and indicator for steering investments and R&D in the appropriate direction. It is therefore vital to shift the focus of today's waste agenda from problem to opportunity and to advocate for the development of new solutions in today's environmental challenges. Together with the Government of Malaysia, local businesses play a vital role in helping to drive and accelerate the efforts in turning waste into resource and promoting sustainable ways of waste management. It is our aspiration that soon we can be at par or exceed average level of reuse, recycling, and energy recovery. Targets of the Malaysia Plastic Sustainability Roadmap, or MPSR, were crafted together by stakeholders, and the aim is to create less to none byproduct of plastic waste in near future. To achieve this, mitigation action should start at the product's design phase. And to ensure the smooth transition, standards and certification goes hand in catalyzing the effort. Ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely hope that from today's program, we could bridge all related parties working together towards the same objective, cooperate, collaborate, and work hand in hand actively in adopting circular economy. It is our greatest mutual hope that this program could help spur the agenda of plastic circularity in Malaysia. Before I end my remarks, thank you once again to all Malaysia's plastic industry fraternity for supporting the nation in achieving our plastic pollution and marine plastic agenda. I wish all of you a productive session. Thank you.
Thank you once again to young Berusaha Puan Noor Afifah for the recorded opening remarks. We hope it gears up all the participants for the sharing from our distinguished speakers today. Ladies and gentlemen, throughout the webinar, MPMA will be running a survey to explore members' interest in sustainability certifications. This will help MPMA in designing our upcoming certification program to better suit the needs of you, our members. Therefore, we would appreciate your cooperation to fill in the short survey using the QR code on the screen or the link in the chat box. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. Now, without further ado, let me introduce to you our moderator today. She is a veteran in the plastic industry with more than 30 years of working experience in the flexible packaging industry. As the Managing Director of Chonghua Plastics and Rian Berhad, with a Bachelor of Economics from York University, Canada. She has supported her company and customers through various packaging evolutions. As the Vice President of MPMA and Chairman of MPMA's Sustainability Subcommittee, she is a strong advocate on plastic sustainability and has spoken on numerous prestigious platforms and events. Your moderator today is none other than Ms. Wee Chin-Yen. Before I pass the session to Ms. Wee, I would like to request our moderator, speakers, distinguished guests, and the secretary to turn on your webcams so that we could take a group photograph. think the rest of you can turn on your camera. Thank you very much. We'll just wait for a few more to turn on the camera as well. Okay, thank you very much for turning on your camera. Okay, well, I'll take a few seconds. So everyone smile. 3, 2, 1. Okay, we'll take another one. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you. So thank you all. Now, without wasting any more time, please join me to welcome Ms. Wee Chin Yun to start and moderate our webinar today. Ms. Wee, please.
Thank you so much, Sharili, for the kind introduction. Good morning to everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar this morning. And we have MPMA has lined up an exciting program, and the professionals in sustainability certifications in Malaysia and worldwide. And these are companies that are well established, and we are very fortunate to have their expert sharing today, right? Without further ado, the first paper will be presented by Encik Eddie Muzwan Shah from KASA, but he will not be able to join us today, but he has a recording, which you will be able to see later. And then the second paper will be entitled Recycled Claim Standards, RCS, and Global Recycled Standards, GRS, presented by Mr. Supun Nigamuni, the Managing Director of Control Union. And then the third paper will be presented by Muhammad Faizul bin Yusuf, Program Manager, MSPO, RSPO, ISCC of SGS Malaysia Sdn Bhd. Mr. Faizul will speak on International Sustainability and Carbon Certification, ISCC PLUS. And then last but not least, the dollars and cents, we have a green financing, which is important because we know certification doesn't come cheap, right? By Mr. Sham Kai Leong. Mr. Sham Kai Leong is a Senior Vice President and Head, Global Development and Strategic Alliances of UOB Bank. And then we will have a panel discussion and a Q&A session. I believe we will spend a lot of time on the Q&A and panel discussion because I'm sure everyone has many questions. Just like me, I have many questions for our panel speakers. Yeah, so we should end by 12 noon. So to start with, here is Encik Eddie Muzwan Shah bin Muhammad Ali Murad. He is the Deputy Under-Secretary, Environmental Management Division, Ministry of Environment and Water, KASA. Kellogg School of Management alumni with extensive experience in public policy, planning and formulation of national circular economy for plastics and national marine litter policy framework and roadmap, strategic management and project monitoring of national key results area in the wholesale and retail trade and cost of living. Well-trained and experienced in international negotiation and diplomacy skills, specifically in trade, competition policy chapter and services sector, as well as environmental protection, particularly in sustainable consumption and production, trade and environment, pollution control, and ecosystem conservation, marine pollution, plastics, and microplastics pollution. Oh, as a hobby, he is a PADI and SSI certified scuba diver with high interest in eco-diving training and actively involved in volunteerism projects. Who knows, next time we might have a scuba diving session with Encik Eddie. That I didn't know, I just found out. Okay, anyway, shall we run the video, please? Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to you, Mr. Wee, our moderator for today. Esteemed and distinguished panelists, MPA members, as well as participants in this webinar session. I'm Eddie from KASA and I'm honored to be part of today's session as I can see a lot of familiar faces in our session today. Today, I will be sharing something about our plastic agenda with specific reference to our MPSR Malaysia Plastic Sustainability Roadmap and will deep dive from the perspective of standards and certification. Well, I am truly excited when MPMA proposed to organize this particular session where I can see the industry is moving in the right direction towards plastic circularity. I always believe that through a comprehensive standards compliance, we are not only able to be more productive, but ultimately, we can be sure that plastic production will become more sustainable without compromising and damaging the environment. So, ladies and gentlemen, my topic for today is driving circular economy through sustainability standards. Let me start by sharing or rather reshare our plastic sustainability plan. In a nutshell, well, this slide encapsulates the journey towards plastic circularity. In other words, I always call it as our true north, as it shows what needs to be done along this 10-year period. To achieve where we want to be by the end of 2030, targeted interventions as well as phased approach implementation plan are key. Our focus for the first phase of the plan are targeted on plastic packaging subsector. Gradually, we will move to drive other subsectors towards plastic circularity, and this includes E&E, construction, and automotive subsectors. When I say we apply phased approach in implementing our interventions, let me bring our attention to, for example, EPR. Well, in this plan, we know that mandatory EPR can't be implemented in an abrupt manner. It will disrupt the market. Hence, we take it on a phased approach manner, starting with voluntary implementation from now till 2025. And coming 2026, we expect the market will be ready for mandatory implementation. For this, we know that we need to provide the ecosystem for the success of the implementation. So Maria comes into the picture. We are happy to note that now Maria is active in engaging industry players to be on board. Not only that, we are also in the talks to see how we can complement Maria's objective through a systematic collection system. We are going to see RVM, reverse vending machine, for example, be mainstream across the country soon. As I mentioned earlier, our true north will not be complete without putting targets to the actions. This roadmap set forth 6 main targets as agreed by the stakeholders to move towards plastic circularity in Malaysia. Target 1 is to phase out problematic single-use plastic with the objective to lessen the burden on our waste management system. Problematic SUPs will be identified based on a set of criteria. These criteria including reusability, recyclability, or compostability value. Second, hazardous chemical content in its production. Third, whether it can be avoided or replaced while maintaining its utility value. Fourth, whether it hinders or disrupts the recyclability of other items. And lastly, the possibility of it being littered or ending up in the natural environment. And on top of that, this problematic list will also be prioritized based on consumption, impact, as well as availability of alternatives. And target 2 is about increasing plastic recycling rate in Malaysia. For this, we are hoping to achieve an average of 25% plastic waste to be recycled by 2025. And target 3, aiming to ensure all plastic packaging can be recycled. Thus, the resource can be kept in use for as long as possible. And each process, service, product or packaging item needs to be redesigned to fit circularity business model. Therefore, 100% recyclability rate of plastic packaging commitments from the manufacturers and brand owners are important, as circularity of plastic packaging starts with its designing process. Target 4 is focusing on achieving 15% average recycled resin as feedstock in manufacturing plastic items. This target was determined based on the latest commitment from brand owners on their ability to achieve a certain percentage of recycled content in their packaging with SME's current capacity in mind. The current average of the collected for recycling or CFR rate for all key resin in Malaysia stands at 24%. This is very low compared to the global rate. For example, global CFR for PET is at 55 to 57%, while ours is only at 28 to 45%. And to ensure continuous supply of feedstock and to unlock maximum potential from domestic plastic waste, we really need to reach 76% of CFR rate across resin types. 6th target focusing on halal rPET standards, which can be leveraged to boost the usage of recycled resin. To tap the global halal rPET market, the relevant standards must be in place. Therefore, the halal consumable goods general requirements will chart the pathway for halal certification. And ladies and gentlemen, now let's deep dive into why we say that standards can play an important role in driving plastic circularity. And to start off, standards will guide the unified approach at the global level, where when adopted in a wider scale, all processes will be streamlined and cross-referred to a unified document. The definitions and technical requirements used in standards related to recyclability, compostability, and biodegradability must reflect real-world conditions and pay more attention to accessibility and consumer understanding. At present, there is I would say, disconnect between these claims and what is likely to happen in reality. And well-designed recycling standards can be effective in increasing responsible consumer behavior in choosing their packaged products as well as proper disposal. Businesses should adopt recyclable plastic packaging and commit to using clear and well-designed recyclability labels. Improper use of labels or claims can result in greenwashing. Greenwashing is, an attempt to mislead consumers and to market products more environmentally friendly than they actually are. This can be exaggeration or misrepresentation of an improved environmental performance. A claim that cannot be verified, is irrelevant, or is simply false. Standards also provides the opportunity to maximize economic and environmental benefits. Standards will increase the efficiency, and in the context of plastic circularity, standards will guide us in optimizing our resource utilization, which will then bring down the cost of productions. And not only that, it will also ensure less detrimental impact to the environment. Now, after acknowledging the benefits of having a robust standards, as well as the important role of standards, we further substantiate it through benchmarking exercise. For example, EU model specifies specific standards for every component of product life cycle. The European Packaging Directive establishes essential requirements for different aspects of packaging through its whole life cycle from manufacturing perspective, composition of packaging, as well as disposal and its end-of-life treatment. The overarching European packaging standard requires that packaging weight and volume be kept to the minimum amount needed for safety, hygiene, and consumer acceptance of the packed product. Noxious or hazardous content be kept to a minimum, and packaging can be reused or recovered once it has been used. And in the context of Malaysia, this slide will show some, if not all, or rather this is a non-exhaustive, that what we think are needed to drive national plastic circularity agenda. The key here is how we can have standards that not only beneficial for industry's growth, but more importantly, the standards must provide means for Malaysia to end plastic pollution. And for example, to guide the usage of recycled content in production, there are some standards which we can refer to. For example, under ISO 14021, these standards provides definition for recycled content and recycled material. EN 15343 provides for plastic recycling traceability and assessment of conformity for recycled content. And these standards aims to encourage proper recycling. Whereas in Malaysia, even though we have Eco 018 eco-labeling criteria for recycled plastic product, these standards does not cover all products category. It excludes direct food contact application. We also need sustainable design standards that can guide for design for optimized resource use, where it reduces the use of natural resources and consequently the carbon footprint. Design for sustainable sourcing takes into account the way materials are extracted, processed, procured, supplied, used, reused, or disposed. It requires the holistic and thorough evaluation of a product and its supply chain and whether they meet certain sustainability, environmental, social, and economic requirements. Design for environmentally sound use that supports responsible use through reducing littering, the ability to easily portion, safely reseal, and completely empty in order to avoid product waste. And design for recycling as to enable high quality recycling of the packaging materials after the end of life of the packaging. Material recycling, referring to Material Recycling Standards ISO 18604, was introduced to give guidance on which packaging can be classified as recoverable by material recycling and the fragmented approach to recycling, each by jurisdictions, regulators, packaging manufacturers, or certification bodies. Biodegradability and compostability standards cover for plastics and products made from plastics that are designed to be biodegradable in a certain environment or to be composted in municipality or industrial aerobic composting facilities. Based on a desktop search, we found a number of standards that may be applicable in Malaysia. ISO 14851, determination of the ultimate aerobic biodegradability of plastic materials in an aqueous medium, method by measuring the oxygen demand in a closed respirometer. ISO 14852, determination of the ultimate aerobic biodegradability of plastic materials in an aqueous medium, method by analysis of evolved carbon dioxide. ISO 17556, plastic determination of the ultimate aerobic biodegradability of plastic materials in soil by measuring the oxygen demand in a respirometer or the amount of carbon dioxide evolved. While ISO 19679, plastic determination of aerobic biodegradation of non-floating plastic materials in a seawater or sediment interface, method by analysis of evolved carbon dioxide. And ISO 18830, plastic determination of aerobic biodegradation of non-floating plastic materials in a seawater or sandy sediment, method by measuring the oxygen demand in closed respirometer. And currently, Malaysia also have SIRIM Eco 001 eco-labeling criteria for biodegradable and compostable plastic and bioplastic. To date, 30 plastic producers are certified under this scheme, but theirs is only limited to bio-based product. We would like to see how this scheme can be further strengthened to ensure wider uptake and no implication to the environment upon biodegradation, for example, the microplastic issue. Now we can see that these criteria to degrade plastic material need and requires specific environment or condition. That is not simply access or found. Therefore, this process cannot be carried out easily by most people, whether they reside in the city or rural areas. Last year, we also have come to aware about BSI PAS 9017, plastic biodegradation of polyolefin in an open-air terrestrial environment, where the outcome for the standards is to have products that won't be degraded into microplastic. And this gives us hope and glimpse of the future that there might not be any microplastic issue anymore. Labeling of product, and in this case, the recycling guidance, the resin identification codes that appear on plastic packages worldwide are often interpreted by consumers as recycling guidance. Therefore, it is important to have labeling that guide consumers in taking proper action in handling their waste. Either this packaging can be recycled, should the bottle cap be kept together with the sleeve, or whether the whole product should be separated and go into different bin. Clear and well communicated labeling scheme will catalyze the ethical, rightful action towards product and in turn helps in ensuring circularity of it. One of the best examples is Australasian recycling label on pack labeling scheme that helps consumers understand how to recycle products correctly and assist brand owners to design packaging that is recyclable at the end of life. Powered by the Packaging Recyclability Evaluation Portal, or PREP, an online tool that assesses packaging recyclability in the Australian and the New Zealand recovery systems. Standards will not work if we don't have a proper ecosystem to make it work. By this, I mean we need to close this gap so that the critical components, as I highlighted in my previous slides, will bear benefits once established. Things to consider include, we know that standards provide for testing requirements for specific claims, but they are often disconnected from what may be happening in real life. Standards do not consider accessibility or availability of necessary infrastructure or how real-life conditions may impact the potential for the claim to be fulfilled. Applicability of current standards to be implemented also need to be rethinked. For example, petroleum-based plastic will not pass the ECO 001 criteria as it took longer than 180 days to degrade according to the specification. Thus, is ECO 001 applicable and the best scheme we should advocate for? Or must we improve the scheme to allow wider scope but still stringent, as the ultimate goal is to prevent environmental harm? These are some of the challenges that need to be thought of. Low industry uptake also indicates that something is amiss. Are they not ready to produce better products, or something lacking with the standards? This is something that we need to understand, analyze, and find solution collectively. And compliance to the standards is also a challenge that we all need to address. Compliance mechanisms should drive the industry to increase their recycled content rate in products manufacturing, increase recyclability rate, as well as increase recycled content rate. For this, we need standardized methods and tools to assess. For example, proportion of reused components or recycled content in a product, and how to assess the ease or even the difficulty for a product to be repaired or remanufactured. And to ensure compliance to the standards, enforcement must be strengthened at all levels. And finally, I would say the most important component, but often not looked at, is the consumer awareness and understanding of the label we put on the products or packaging, which ultimately will create push and pull effect in the market. Greater understanding will lead to better action and, in the long run, better environment. So, ladies and gentlemen, what's next? Well, I don't want to dictate, or rather seem imposing, since KASA is not in a position to dictate business decision. But I would like to suggest and even encourage the industry, our colleagues from SIRIM and Jabatan Standards, together with the academias, to explore low-hanging fruit solution. And I'm happy to share that currently KASA is working together with SIRIM and Jabatan Standards for the revision of eco-label ECO 001 biodegradable and compostable plastic and bioplastic, as well as ECO 009 biodegradable and compostable biomass product. The aspiration towards this revision is hopefully to adopt the best practices available in global scenario and much developed country pertaining to standards. Through this enhancement of standards, we aspire for future production of plastic products will not be causing any microplastic issue at the end of its life cycle. Of course, without hampering our current mechanical recycling process. And on top of that, Standards Department of Malaysia, together with Department of Islamic Development Malaysia, JAKIM, is in the midst to gazette the Halal Consumable Goods General Requirements, MS 2738, that permits the use of recycled resin for food contact packaging. Therefore, there is a need for SIRIM to revise ECO 018 to reflect the changes so that industry can tap the full potential of recycled material market, especially at regional and global level. Nevertheless, these are not the only thing that we need to do. As I mentioned earlier, we need to close the gaps within standards. Therefore, we need to work together, hand in hand, be more coordinated among ourselves in finding the right and practical solution. At KASA, we always open to hear from the industry, academia, as well as other stakeholders to improve the as-is situation. As we always said, CE is not a one-man show. CE can only work with collective participation from all actors across plastic value chain. So let's work together. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I end my presentation and wish all of you a productive session ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Encik Eddie. So Encik Eddie has given us the big picture of our Malaysian Plastic Sustainability Roadmap. From there, he has shown us the current enablers, the first 2 years and what is coming up. And these enablers let us understand how the support from KASA is turning the whole scenario part by part. Like Encik Eddie said, this is not going to be a one-party responsibility. It really takes the whole plastics community and the other stakeholders, to make plastic circularity happen. So, and what I like is Encik Eddie is not reserved in telling us what are the gaps that KASA has identified, and also bravely put up the steps that KASA is going to take, to modify or revise according to the changes in time and demand. Right. So we will go to, thank you very much, Encik Eddie, and now we will go to the most important subject matter of today, which is to look at how certification and standards will guide us into achieving plastic circularity. Right. So we have the pleasure of inviting Mr. Supun Nigamuni, Managing Director of Control Union. Mr. Supun is an established forestry and environmental specialist with experience in compliance auditing, training, certification, program management, and environmental assessments. Serves as the Managing Director of Control Union Malaysia and responsible for managing certifications for Control Union Malaysia, a global leader in sustainability assurance in agriculture industry, and many other sectors. In addition to the local responsibilities, Mr. Supun also chairs the global expert team for Control Union, overseeing the certification activities related to forestry, palm, sugar, soy, rubber, and tourism. A senior auditor having international auditing experience in forest management, chain of custody, RSPO, PNC, and SCC, ISO 14001, ISO 5001, GHG assessments, ESG assurance, and other environmental and social programs across many sectors over the last 11 years. Mr. Supun formerly was responsible in managing Forest Stewardship Council, FSQ, Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil, RSPO, Energy Management Systems, ISO 5001, certification activities for control union certifications worldwide. So may I call upon Mr. Supun Nigamuni.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ree, and thank you very much for MPMA for the kind invitation extended towards Control Union to explain what the current status of the plastic industry when it comes to certification and compliance, and more importantly, discussing in detail on the global recycling standard and recycle claim standard. Before we move forward, just to give a bit of a brief introduction into what Control Union is. Control Union is a Dutch holding company, started operations in 1920. Over the last 101 years, we have actually grown into operations in covering more than 70 countries and with more than 5,000 people, and primarily operating in the space of certifications, inspections, collateral management services, among others. The topic of plastic certification. Why do you need plastic certification? I think JD from KASA clearly identified what's the issue that we are having with plastic, and it's actually not a secret. The scientists are already discussing that we can clearly identify that this as a plastic age when it has already come into fossilized terms because after the exponential increase in plastic since 1945. So we all know the concerns when it comes to plastic, that it is a climate, health, and social justice issue. And also we have seen all the images circulating around that the turtles with the straws on its nostrils, as well as all the others, what creates that plastic is creating and facilitating the ocean plastic and the ocean pollution. Over 99% of the plastics are made out from fossil fuels. So basically, to truly turn off the tap on plastic pollution, corporates must stop producing so much plastic to keep fossil fuels on the ground. So there's quite a big movement over the last few years through the break free from plastics, which is basically highlighting, conducting annual audits and highlighting the major drivers in terms of plastic pollution. And even in the last report, which was released in 2021, even large-scale giants like Coca-Cola was identified as the worst corporate plastic polluter for the fourth year in a row. So there's much more concern that we need to tap into this concern of plastic pollution, which is indeed a climate justice issue. Sorry for the slight technical extent. Let me just reconnect back. Yeah, hope you can see the screen now. So basically, half of all plastics ever manufactured in the world is actually in the last 15 years. And it's not just creating an issue, and the cleaning of it, the plastic pollution is estimated to cost the world 1.9 trillion pounds, or 2.5 trillion US dollars per year. So that's the cost of plastic pollution. In the same time, there are more than 170 countries have already pledged to significantly reduce plastics by 2030. And even Malaysia, through the Master Plan 2025, Master Plan 12 for the period of 2021 to 2025, clearly identifies the need for extended producer responsibility that the producers will have to pay. So basically, all these regulations has been in the discussion over the last many number of years. But what we have seen is actually with the COVID, it really shows us that how important plastic is in terms of everything that we do, and it basically took the agenda back for eliminating single-use plastic by a few years, I would say. But in the same time, almost all the brands have actually committed that they are going to move into recyclable, reusable packaging by the timelines of 2025, 2030. Plastics is cheap. And yes, we can all discuss about replacing plastics, but it's highly unlikely to have a broad impact on replacing plastics, because then you also get the environmental and the economic costs of the biodegradable, compostable plastics. It's very important that we improve on our eco designs and likewise. But we as industry experts, we don't believe that plastic is not going to be there in the years to come. So it's very important that we manage and mitigate the impacts that is actually being created by plastics by mainly looking into recyclable, reusable types of packaging. So just to sum it up, the problem, we are in the midst of the global plastic crisis. Only 9% of plastic or less than that is actually being recycled. So, and now more than ever, companies needs to prove the ways in which they are recycling, cutting the use of plastic, adopting alternative compostable materials through robust certification process. Because we see in the market, there are a lot of claims that, okay, this is green, we are pledging to sustainability, but driving the talk is actually the need of the other. So at Control Union, being the largest certification body, they are working on plastics over the last 2 decades. We provide array of services, certification programs to the clients, depending on the size, sectors, and also in a way to recognize the different companies' responsibility and the efforts that they have taken, and also to demonstrate their commitments to meeting regulations and also asserting public trusts. This is also to share some very important news which actually came up yesterday. It's not just that, okay, we are driving the industry towards recyclable, reusable, compostable, biodegradable plastics. And, you know, in Malaysia, we are a country which is in our manufacturing workforce, we are truly dependent on migrant workforce. So these are also concerns that actually comes in. So as we all know, in Malaysia, it's all started with gloves. It went to palm. It's now firmly with plastics, ceramics industries to basically the forced labor concerns are very much firmly in the plastic industry as well. We have seen several large scale manufacturers of plastics in Malaysia has also been pushed to the level that they have to basically demonstrate that their operations are not facilitating or not subject to the concerns related to forced labor. So the new EU regulations, which is actually going to come in the next couple of years, is actually going to ban all products tainted with forced labor entering into the European markets. What is certification? So it's certification we try to achieve consistently. We try to achieve replicability. So certification, there are so many certification, even the previous speaker, I highlighted 10, 15 types of certifications which are available. Certifications can be of single attribute or certification can be of multi-attribute. Not every certification program is sustainable. So you have to, when you see labels, you have to really see what is meant by the label. So if you say a label like halal, it does not say that the product is sustainable. It says that the product is actually manufactured using the norms of halal. So it's very important for us to understand, and certification programs have evolved over the years as a robust independent and industry recognized way of confirming and providing that assurance to the end consumer that the product meets a certain level of standards. So it can be either product, or it can be either the system of the companies manufacturing that particular product. So being the largest certification body operating in the plastic sector over the last 2 decades, from the development of the global recycling standard. Global recycling standard was developed by Control Union back in 2008 before it was handed over to Textile Exchange, which is at the moment the largest recycling standard in the world, which is certifying more than 10,000 companies across. So not limiting to GRS and to other recycling claims, we have evolved with the industry, being a leading certifier of ISCC PLUS, responsible plastic management, and also in 2020, with the World's Oceans Day, we also launched the first ocean plastic related standard, which we're talking about ocean-bound plastic. And also we are the first validation and verification body being approved by VERA on plastic waste reduction standard, which also aims to achieve plastic neutrality and which also aims to create a commercialization incentive mechanism for people who wants to do more to address this particular issue. Let me just briefly walk through the different schemes just for you to get a broad understanding of what these different schemes means, because it's very important from our end to give you that particular tools necessary for you to make the right decision moving forward, what is actually best suited for you, how you can actually use this as a means, not just to shield yourself, but also to brand yourselves. So it's actually converting yourselves from a shield to a sword strategy by using these different sustainability norms to your competitive advantage. So plastic waste management standard was founded in 2019, and it's basically highly flexible among all types of plastics and likewise. And most importantly, this is backed by WWF, One Shared Earth, and also the leading foundation for circular economy like Ellen MacArthur Foundation. So at the moment, the plastic waste management standard is being broadly used by Heineken, Bombardier, Belfast Harbour, to name a few. So the standard is developed using the ISO norms, where my fellow speaker from KASA also identified. And it's a 5-step process focusing on continuous improvement in terms of reducing plastic waste. And we also have ISCC PLUS, which is at the moment certifying more than 4,000 companies across the world. So ISCC PLUS is for advanced bioplastics, recyclable plastics. So we have a fellow speaker who will be speaking in detail on ISCC PLUS. So I'll not take much time in actually talking on this ISCC PLUS scheme. Also to touch upon the plastic waste reduction standard. So this is created by VERA. VERA is very well known for carbon neutrality, carbon footprints, carbon offsetting schemes. So VERA also ventured into a plastic waste reduction scheme, which is available for collectors, which is available for recycling operations in a way to drive finance to projects that remove plastic waste from environment or through increased recycling. So companies can purchase carbon credits to mitigate unavoidable plastic leakages within or beyond their supply chains. And we are proud to be the first validation and verification body to be acknowledged by VERA to provide plastic waste reduction standards. So this is relatively new, which was launched in 2021. So it basically, it's driven through the industry itself. So it drives on the concepts of additionality. So for an example, recycling is actually, it's a concept that is already, there's a business concept. That's why there's a lot of recyclers available. That's why there are 700 companies even under the membership of MPMA operating in Malaysia. But if you do more to increase the recycling rates, if you do more to prevent plastics from entering into the waste streams, plastics from entering into the oceans, you will actually be incentivized through the plastic waste reduction standard. as I explained to you in 2020, when we were seriously looking into the matter of ocean plastic, the key striking factor is how do we address the particular matter. When we looked into the problem, 80% of the plastics actually originates from the land. The other 20% is actually from the shipping industry, fishing industry, and likewise. But 80% of the plastic is actually generated and entering the oceans through our rivers and through our shorelines. So unless we prevent that particular plastic from entering the oceans, it's not going to address the problem. So that is why, together with Zero Plastic Oceans, we developed the ocean-bound plastic standard, which talks about the waterways, which talks about the shorelines in preventing plastics from entering into the oceans. And Malaysia, we have actually been quite honored. The first company which was certified for ocean-bound plastic in Malaysia, which was Hanging Up Industries, is also MPMA member. And it also developed the mechanism for neutrality, plastic neutrality. Because in Vera, offsetting credits are basically available for all recyclers, all collecting operations likewise. But in OBP, it's very specific because when we looked into the problem was not addressed by just collecting the plastics, because not all plastics can be recyclable. So when we were looking into the recycling issue, we found out that, okay, collectors are picking and choosing, and also the recyclers are picking and choosing what can be commercially recyclable. So this was also in a way to provide an incentive to organizations who are looking into the commercially unrecyclable, non-recyclable contents to be recycled, to be disposed, to provide incentive mechanism. Coming into the topic of GRS and recycle credit standard. So these standards, as you can even see, it focuses on the claim of recycled material included in the product. So this is
sorry to interrupt. You have 5 minutes left.
Yeah, thank you very much. So this is widely used among the textile industry and increasingly used in the technical, packaging, and automotive industries. And over the last 10-15 years, from the origins of 2008, this has already certified more than 10,000 companies across the world in terms of claiming their drive towards recycling and the content, as well as the sustainable management of the recycling processes. What is the key difference between the programs? So recycled content standard is mainly looking into the content of recycled products carried in the particular product. So the minimum content that the product has to carry is 5% of recycled material. So up to 5%, if the product carries up to 95% of recycled material, you can use the RCS blended logo. If it is 95% more, you can use the RCS 100 in a way to communicate that this product contains this much of recycled material. But recycling itself is a highly hazardous industry. It's high of chemical use. There are a lot of concerns on social and environmental concerns. So that was the need for GRS, Global Recycling Standard, to be emerged. Global Recycling Standard is not just a content claim standard, but a true sustainability standard, which also talks about environmental, social, as well as chemical norms. It's very important to understand the concepts of what is reclaimed. The previous speaker also talked about the concerns of what considers reclaimed. So basically, there's a difference between reuse and recycled or reclaimed. So we have to understand whether this is actually can be processed into something new. If it can be processed into something new, yes, then we have to also see whether it has gone to the consumer or whether it is actually after the consumer, whether it's pre-consumer or post-consumer. So depending on that pre-consumer and post-consumer, you can actually be certified against GRS and RCS standards. So the first point of certification is actually the recycler. So the collectors and the concentrators are optional to be certified. So as a company, you'll have to maintain all your records. You'll have to maintain traceability, proper traceability within your operations. In addition to the recycled content and the traceability, in recycling, you'll have to also look into the chemical, environmental, and the social norms. So each and every party from the recycler will actually have to be certified. So whoever owns and uses the material needs to be certified. So we use a mechanism called transaction certificate to transfer the claim from one party to the next. So basically the integrity of the value chain is actually secured. All parties after the recycling operation is actually being certified until the final retailers. So the content of the product can actually be assured. So it derives the confidence, the consumers, that it meets the requirement of the specific schemes. So it drives the consumer confidence. So looking into what is additional in GRS. So GRS talks very in detail on the social concerns. Like what I said, now there's key drive into eliminate forced labor. So forced bonded labor, child labor, freedom for association, discrimination, health and safety, wages, benefits, and working hours, especially in Malaysia. These are big issues when it comes to social concerns. So GRS, as a truly sustainable standard, it also talks about in detail the social concerns. It in detail talks about the environmental concern, especially on the energy use, water use, wastewater management, emissions to air, and waste management, as well as the chemical requirements that, as I told you, it's a highly hazardous industry in general. So it's very important to look into the zero discharge concepts, and also understanding what are the harmful substances. So it follows the norms of HDHC, looking into the manufacturer's restricted substances list. So there are certain allowed chemicals to be used, certain chemicals needs to be taken out because of the hazardous risks. So it's a truly sustainable standard, which is offering a one-stop shop for all the different claims that you would like your product to be associated with. So you can use the logos as long as there are more than 50% content of material, recycled content in the material. You can use the GRS logos. RCS logos, as long as it's between 5 to 95, you can use the recycled blended. Or if your recycled content of the material is more than 95%, you can use the recycled 100. So these are ways how you can communicate the claims of your products to the end consumers. So the process of certification is quite standard, like all the other certifications. From the application to the contract, we have to actually conduct physical audits on your operations. There may be positive or negative findings that you need to actually improve. So you do your improvement and the certification is actually being granted. Once the certification being granted, you can formally adopt the process in communicating your claims and ensuring compliance. Just to give a very brief comparison into different programs. So most of these programs are actually 1 year programs. So the certificate validity is actually for 1 year. There's a mandate for on-site audits, and it can actually be audited together with many other programs. So when we are conducting audits, we audit GRS, ISCC PLUS, RCS all in one go, and including even OBP, because it can be integrated, because most of the schemes are, there are common grounds, but it all comes down to the buyer's demands and likewise which schemes which needs to be used. So with that, I would like to end the session, and if there are more questions later, we'll be more than happy to answer. Thank you very much. Over to you, Ms. Wee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Supun. Very comprehensive. Already got many questions in my mind, and I'm sure the participants, but due to the interest of time, and we are running really behind time, let's go and proceed to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Encik Faizul. Okay, Encik Muhammad Faizul bin Yusuf is the Program and Product Manager, MSPO, RSPO, ISCC of SGS Malaysia and UOB. Mr. Muhammad Faizul bin Yusof has joined SGS Malaysia as a Program Product Manager in charge of MSPO, RSPO, ISCC, and future-related plantation sustainability scheme. He is a qualified senior lead auditor for various sustainability schemes, including for ISCC EU, ISCC PLUS, ISCC KASA, RSPO PNC, MSPO, OPMC, RSPO SCCS, MSPO SCCS, and VIBE. Experience and is an expert in EU biofuel legislation, circular economy, and bioeconomy such as SDG, ESG, EU, RED, GHG calculation, and etc. Led and carried more than 1,000 audit mandates for several sustainability standards, upstream to downstream in Malaysia, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, Singapore, Philippines, Sri Lanka, Korea, Pakistan, Ivory Coast, Saudi Arabia, Thailand, Hong Kong, and etc. Yes, please welcome Encik Muhammad Faizul bin Yusof.
Thank you thank you to the moderator for the introduction. Assalamualaikum and very good morning to everyone. Today, my subject of presentation will be on the area of ICC Plus for the circular economy and bioeconomy. I don't think I need to reintroduce myself again. I will go straight to the point that we are going to present today. ICC is a leading certification scheme that is globally applicable for a wide range of feedstock and markets. Feedstock refer to the bio-based material, biocircular-based material, and circular material. A market for ICC Plus, for ICC certification, mainly for the energy markets, food and feed market, as well as industrial application, such as plastic industry. ICC objective basically to support the company to achieve your sustainability target and to implement the Sustainable Development Goal initiative. A verification of the implementation of social and ecological sustainability criteria, and to monitor of deforestation-free supply chain, protection of high biodiversity and high carbon stock land. And one of the most important element in ICC certification is to calculate the GHG emission and have a plan to reduce the emission along the way. ICC also established very well and clear traceability requirements in the global supply chain and allow for the credible and justifiable claims and logo use. ICC certifications basically driving forward the circular economy and bioeconomy. ICC offer three certification systems. The application depending on the market. We have ICC EU, ICC Plus, and ICC KASA. What is ICC EU, ICC Plus, and ICC KASA? The difference is a market target. For example, ICC EU basically applicable for sustainable fuel use in the European Union to align and comply with the requirement under Renewable Energy Directive. Then for ICC Plus, application for the voluntary and sector regulated market, for example, energy and biofuels outside the European Union. Mainly goes to the Japan and Australia. Then specifically for the technical and industrial applications, also come under ICC Plus, which is related to the plastic industry, upstream until the downstream. Then also applicable for the food and feed markets. We also have ICC KASA. ICC KASA designs specifically for the sustainable aviation fuel under ICAO KASA to demonstrate compliance with the sustainability and GHG criteria for KASA eligible fuel. Currently, as at February 2022, ICC already issued almost 6,000 ICC certificates around the globe, where ICC EU are dominating the system. Since 2011, more than 10 years ago, ICC issued ICC EU certificate for more than 4,000 certificates around the globe. Then we can see, starting from 2020, there are growth of demand for ICC Plus, which is mainly coming from the plastic industry. As at February 2022, almost 1,500 certificates issued to the industry. For ICC KASA, we consider is a new standard for under ICC type of system, type of certification. Until February 2022, not more than 20 certificates issued under ICC KASA around the globe. However, I believe in the near future, ICC KASA will be one of the most important certification in the world. Then, other than ICC EU, ICC Plus, and ICC KASA, we also have ICC DE. ICC DE specifically designed for the German market. Because of the demands or the demand of ICC EU, then we can consider that ICC DE ICC EU already replaced ICC DE in the market. That's the reason why we can see, even though ICC DE already issued since 2010, earlier than ICC EU, but the growth for ICC EU is much better compared to ICC DE. Then this is a specific numbers or specific figures for ICC Plus certification. The reason why we are today because of we are interested to know more about the certification which related to the plastic industries. Okay, that's the reason why I will explain more on the ICC Plus. Since mid of 2020, there are around 400 plus certificate issued for ICC Plus. Then 1 year later, mid of 2021, we can see the growth of demands or issuance of certificates is almost more than 100%. Mid of 2020, we have around 400 plus certificates issued around the globe. Then 2021, mid of 2021, we have around 1,000 plus certificates issued around the globe. But now, on the mid of 2022, this is the latest data I have, we have around 2,000 plus certificates issued under ICC Plus. From this figure, we can assume that there are increase of demand under ICC Plus, which mainly refer or fall under the plastic certification. How about Malaysia? Okay, the data I have until October 2021. ICC certificate in Malaysia issued is around 260 certificates, where ICC EU is still dominating the system, around 237 certificates issued under ICC EU, and only 23 certificates issued under ICC Plus. Okay, this is the data from until October 2022. But we can see that there are growing demands under ICC Plus. I can confirm to you until now, okay, only for 2022, SGS is set. We already offered to the client almost 50 offer and sign contract more than 50% under ICC Plus. Almost every week, I have a request from the market to know more about ISCC Plus, and we can see the well growing in this area. Okay, under ISCC Plus basically a solution for the bio and circular economy, and we know that this is going to grow significantly in future. Under bioeconomy and circular economy, bioeconomy the feedstock normally refer to the biomass such as sugar canes. In Malaysia, we have oil palm. Other country we have corn and sunflower, and a lot of others biomass fall under this category. Biocircular meaning that they are waste from this activity, this biomass. Then for circular economy, it's referred to the mixed plastic waste. One of the most important elements is one of the important feedstock is the mixed plastic waste. And other than that, we also have a life and tire, for example. Okay. Then there are other feedstock. There are a lot of raw material used under circular economy. Other than mixed plastic waste, life and tire, we also have industrial CO2, for example, capturing of CO2 and produce the methanol for the various application in the industrial application. Then we noticed that there are several factors push the growth of the circular economy and bioeconomy. One of the most important reason is almost related to the environmental pollution. When we are talking about environmental issue, definitely we can't run from the climate change situation which happen around us. In terms of the recycling activity, compared to last 40 or 50 years back, almost there are 0% of recycling activity at that time. But now we can see the growth of recycling activity happen on the ground, as mentioned by Mr. Eddie from KASA, Mr. Supun from Contributions. Activity of recycling nowadays, and there are targets to meet is almost nowadays is around 10%, and there are targets to meet around 15 to 20% in near future. Then we notice the public, the consumer, the buyer aware on the importance of the environmental issue. The demands from the customer also push the growth of the circular economy and bioeconomy. Government regulations, a lot of signs of green deals happen around the globe, as well as the pressure from the NGO also make the acceleration of this growth. Okay, companies and brand owners also increase the commitments toward this initiative. I believe most of you here today not only to look on the opportunity, but also to learn, to get the knowledge how to run the business responsibly and sustainable and in the sustainable way. A brand like Nestle, a very familiar brand like Nestle, Danone. We have a Coca-Cola, Unilever, Apple just launched their new product. We can see that their environmental strategy is the transition to recycle or renewable material in their product and to maximize material efficiency. Okay, however, the use of bio-based resources pose the risk of deforestation, biodiversity loss, and social problem. And even with circular feedstock, okay, there are the risk of greenwashing allegation and non-transparent supply chain. Okay, also the use of innovative process for biocircular feedstock and the application of the mass balance approach required certification. That's the reason why certification coming in to ensure there are clear traceability and transparency to the market. To enable certification, ICC classified different supply chain elements according to the scope of operation. If we are talking about specifically to the plastic industry, which is common feedstock is coming from the mixed plastic waste. Okay, we divide by classic definition. We can divide it by the upstream and downstream. Upstream is coming from the point of origin, maybe come from the household activity, coming from the recreational activity, coming from the manufacturing activity. The point of origin of the plastic waste will be collected at the collecting point. Okay, then after that sent to the processing unit. Processing units normally referred to the pyrolysis plant, for example, or the polymerization plants to convert from the mixed plastics after washings, after do the segregation, then to convert from the mixed plastic to the ethylene and propylene. In order to use in the converter to produce, for example, flexible plastic packaging or the bottle plastic. Definitely, in the supply chain, we have trader, storage activity, as well as the transportation activity. All these supply chain must be certified to ensure the transparency and traceability before it goes to the brand, to the brand owner and to the markets. Okay, additional value created by ICC certification. ICC Plus certifications are known as high-level sustainability standard. The best of the ICC because of it covers broad of raw material and product coverage. Okay, what means by broad raw materials and product coverage? Okay, it's not only talking ICC Plus or ICC certification is not only talking about the plastic industry, it's talking about other industry as well. So meaning that we can say that ICC or ICC Plus, ICC EU is the one-stop center to cover all elements of the sustainability criteria. Then ICC Plus also establish a traceability and raw material identity, clear chain of custody, clear chain of custody rules, which is normally in ICC we use a mass balance method as well as a segregation. Then credible and verifiable claims is a robust multi-stakeholder systems and a broad market recognition. As I mentioned before, there are a lot of very well-established companies in around the world, around the globe, accept ICC as one of the certification to ensure the credibility or traceability or transparency in the global supply chain for their product produce. Okay, if you want to know more about ICC or ICC Plus certification, you can contact me at faisal.yusuf @sgs.com or through my phones in order for us to maybe virtually meet or physically meet to discuss further on the certification process. Okay, with that, I think that's all from me. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Encik Faizul, for bringing us ISCC Plus and the difference in all the ICC Pluses certification, right? We should move on to our final paper presented by Mr. Sham of UOB Malaysia. Mr. Sham Kai Leong,
Hi,
Senior Vice President and Head, Global Development and Strategic Alliances, United Overseas Bank. Mr. Sham has been in the banking industry for more than 20 years. His career has mainly been in corporate banking, covering global corporates, large local conglomerate, and MNC in a global bank. He had also been a regional relationship manager covering ASEAN for a short period of time. Currently, Mr. Sham is with UOB Commercial Banking, heading up global development and strategic alliances, which covers cross-border businesses, product development, and strategic partnership. Please welcome Mr. Sham.
Hi, thank you so much. Let me share my screen. Okay, yep. Good morning, everyone. Sorry to just want to share with you that actually I was down with a bad flu for the last couple of days, so my voice is not so good at the moment, but was much better compared to yesterday. So was even thinking maybe may have to get somebody else to step in to take my slot, but luckily was better this morning. So if is anything not clear, you can let me know. You can put the chat box to ask any questions. So first of all, I'd like to thank the host and MPMA for having UOB here today. And I mean, I follow part of the presentation. Unfortunately, I was not able to join at the beginning, but I think it's a very good forum, very much focusing on certification. And in this part of the presentation for UOB, we will touch a bit on the financing aspect. And I think it's interrelated. It's a very good flow, because from your certification, that's where that it makes the bank much more easier. When all of you go out there to have that certification, the bank's due diligence on our part, it became so easy. Because all this certification is all internationally or even internally recognized by us. Okay, I will touch on a bit on UOB, who we are and all, and then we will go into the financing products that we have we have available for sustainability purposes. Okay, as per the brief introduction, myself, I'm with commercial banking, and I head up a product team and a strategic alliances, whereby we work with associations and government bodies to actually forge a partnership where we can work together to help SMEs and the business community. Okay, let me move on. Okay, yes, who we are. Okay, we are a regional bank. I think most of you know, headquartered in UOB. Maybe some of you may not know, actually UOB founder started the bank in Kuching, Sarawak. So he started a small bank in Kuching, and thereafter he has moved on to Singapore to start UOB. So if you trace back, the heritage is very much Malaysian, but subsequently resided in Singapore. So yeah, so they have grown, and this is a regional bank. So we have represented in 19 countries, and we have probably the most footprints in Southeast Asia. So I will share on that part later. So we are rated AA1 by Moody's and AA- by S&P and Fitch. Okay. Okay, products that we provide in UOB actually is basically the full suite of product. Whatever products that any other international or regional bank has, UOB has it. The only difference is that in Malaysia, some of it we may not have it in Malaysia, but we will have it in the HQ in Singapore. So which we will leverage on the team and expertise in Singapore to help us. So which is also, I mean, we cross collaborate with each other. Okay, yeah, this is the piece. Okay, so actually, among all the international and regional banks in Malaysia, okay, UOB is most represented because we have presence in Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, and Vietnam. That's for ASEAN. And of course, we have in China and Hong Kong as well. So for the three Singaporean bank, DBS and OC, so some parts they are not represented, but and also the presence is very thin. For instance, like for DBS, they only have a offshore a marketing office in KL and offshore license in Labuan. And in Thailand, they are even not represented. Okay. So the other institution we compare with is like HSBC, Stanchart, and Citi. Okay, so Malaysia is the biggest franchise for UOB after Singapore. So we have been here this year. We are actually come November, UOB is celebrating our 71st anniversary. So we are 71 years in Malaysia. And in Malaysia also, over the last, I think, 5 years, we are the biggest foreign bank and the most profitable foreign bank in Malaysia. Okay, how can we assist you? I think most of us here in this forum all have a green agenda in mind. I will just go through this very quickly because I think most of you have know this or even much better than me. So the global population come 2050. I mean, that's where Malaysia and a lot of other countries make a pledge that by 2050 we want to achieve net zero carbon. So, but by 2050, the global population will grow by increase by 27% to about 9.8 billion. Even the building floor space, we expect to increase by 100%. Okay, construction by 39%, and the global material use by 50%. So there's a huge stress on our planet Earth. Okay, if we continue to move on. So in this slide, okay, this is a little study that we got from World Bank. Okay, waste production will increase from 468 to 714 metric tons, as well as power generation and water stress as well. So basically, I think all of us know it's time to act now. And I think of so many, of being so long, and this topic about ESG has been around for many years, but we have all known that it was never been louder than it is today, So I think not just our industries, in fact, in the banking industries, is very active. In fact, on Monday and Tuesday, we have just concluded the Malaysian Banking Conference this year. So we have it every year. So we just concluded this year, and this year's agenda was ESG. So all the banks in Malaysia are aligning ourselves towards this ESG agenda. Okay, so where does UOB comes in? Okay, so we have a ESG framework, okay, to work with the society. Okay, so it basically can sum up in 4 pillars here. The first one, we call it a green building, okay, which we very much target places like offices, hotels, residential, like your condos, data centers and all. So these mainly on the developers and the owners. So we will want to finance developers who build green rated buildings, rated by Green RE or GBI kind of buildings. Okay, we encourage even our existing client who has a building maybe to go and get some green certification. So we will come in to help them to do the transitioning from a conventional building to a green building. Okay, the second part is more on the smart city. We call it smart city sustainable financing framework. So this is more on the add-ons to the buildings. Okay, so you have like the solar panels on top of your buildings, the let's say the EE, the energy efficiency we're talking about, your air conditioning system, your lighting system, your lifts and chillers and all those stuff. We look into that as well. Waste management and also water management. Okay. The third one will be green financing for circular economy. So this is highly related to your industries, and I think of everything everyone has been speaking about this morning. So this on recycling of plastics, metal materials, okay, circular designs or extension of the product life cycle. Okay, the fourth one, which is also applicable for the audience here, is a green and sustainable trade financing. So it is a trade financing line, but the underlying products of this would be product that is certified. Okay, for example, let's say, okay, very simple example. Let's say we finance a palm oil refinery. Okay, so the palm oil refinery will buy a CPO from a miller, and then they will refine it into cooking oil, and then they will sell to the public. So if this palm oil refinery is buying certified CPO, either by MPSO or RSPO, then we can grant them a green trade financing line. So because the underlying products are certified. So same goes for like coffees and coffee beans, cocoa beans. So any other underlying products that is certified will be applicable for this financing. Okay, I will just focus a bit more on the green financing for circular economy. So we have actually covered 6 areas for us. Okay, first will be circular design and production projects. So this will be more on the changing of your assembly lines. Okay, whether your assembly lines is a design modular design, okay, and how your facilities can be reused and recycled. So if you have plans to do that to a certain aspect of your manufacturing line, is somewhere we can discuss and we can come out with some financing package. Okay, secondly, product as a service solution. So this will be more on the circular supply chain, okay, where the asset is owned and maintained by the suppliers. Okay. Thirdly is product life cycle extension. Like if you intend to change your product from single use, but extend it, you can be used and then reused. I think just now one of the presenter has presented whether this product will go into landfill or then you will be going to a reuse. So if you have a project of such, is something that we can look into and come into partnering you for that as well. Circular inputs, okay, substitution of virgin materials using secondary materials. I think that's where also what we are talking about today. Are we able to use recycled plastics, okay, to as a source, you know, for your manufacturing? So yeah, so for those who are not, then we also can come in and see how we can play a role to help you as well. The fifth one will be facilitator and enablers. So these are more like the ecosystem along this circular economy who help to transition a conventional to a circular basis. Okay. And lastly is material and resource recovery. So on the waste management aspect of it. Okay, so there is no, I think all of you will be wondering, okay, after all that I've covered, you will ask, so what type of financing we are talking about? There's no specific financing per se, okay, for this 6 sector, because it's very broad. Okay, we intentionally also keep it very broad because the whole value chain is so wide. So it's very hard for us to come up with a product and be applicable to every aspect. So what we usually do is that we will come in and understand what you are doing and whether it fits into any of these 6 and it does, then we will come up with a solution. Okay, so we have a product team who is an expert in this area sitting in Singapore who is supporting us. Okay, so for these today purposes, we just give you an overview. That's something that's available in UOB that you can reach out to us.
Hi, Mr.
Okay.
Sham. So sorry to interrupt. You have 5 minutes left.
Hello. Yes.
So you have 5 minutes left, Mr. Sham.
Okay, sure. Okay, now I will touch on the more generic product that is available. Okay, this is called U-Green financing. It's basically a financing that can be a term loan or can be a working capital. Okay, and the difference is that this is wrapped with 80% coverage with SJPP. So the purpose of the loan is for SME and mid-sized company, and it has to be for carbon reduction purposes. So as long as if you want to, let's say, put up a solar panels or change your chiller or whatsoever, if the intention of spending the money, okay, with a carbon reduction in view, then this product is applicable. So financing is up to 5 years. We need not have any security because we will take a SJPP guarantee to wrap it. So as long as you meet the criteria. So there's a QR code down here. If you want more info, you can just scan the QR code to have it. Okay. So quickly go through the last one. This is very proprietary to UOB. We have a youth solar program. I think this is probably the easiest way to have achieved some ESG, which is to put up solar panel system above of your factory. Okay, so we are first one integrated end to end, and this product is rolled out throughout the region. So we have 6 partners. These are EPCC contractors, solar EPCC contractors in Malaysia. So we have 6 partners of these who, if you are interested, then we will get these partners to link you with these partners, and they will then come and study your place, see what sort of solar panels you can put on your rooftop and what kind of savings you can have. They work out everything for you, and if you're interested and if you require financing, then you can reach out to UOB. So we are more than happy to finance you. Okay. The scheme for this is very simple. We have two types in general. One is a IPP scheme, which is for up to 450,000. So this is for very small, unless you have shop houses or your own residential house. So we do it for individual as well. And this scheme is via the UOB credit card and is 0 interest. So we just like how you buy from Harvey Norman, you just charge your card and then you pay over 36 months interest free. The second one is more applicable for companies which has a manufacturing per se, because it's up to 5 million and pay up to 7 years. So we would give you a 7 years term loan to pay down. So there is no security. The security we will only charge on the panels. That's about it. Okay, so it's fairly simple. Okay, there is a link in the UOB website you can go to, and that's where you can get more info. Okay, with this, I will conclude my presentation. Yeah, please feel free. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat box. I think we are running a bit late, so I'm very mindful of the timing. Okay, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sham. Really appreciate very quick and comprehensive run through of what is available for us, the plastic converting industry. All right, so what I will do now is we will start our panel discussion. May I start with Mr. Supun? Mr. Supun, are you able to give us a broad picture? For example, if a company is interested to embark on this GRS certification, so what is it that we need to do? I think, can you tell us what we need to do first
Yeah, thank you very much. So basically, when a company wants to start, don't come directly to certification bodies. That's not where you start. Where you start is actually understanding what are the requirements applicable for you. So most important thing is when a client contacts us, we basically shares the norms which are applicable for them, what are the standards, what are the guidelines, what are the interpretations, and likewise. So it's very important that the client does a proper preparation of his internal setup. So you have clear documentation, because most important thing, what we are trying to achieve from certification, that predictability, that consistency. So it's very important to get a quality product out, meeting a certain set of norms. It has to have a concrete management system in place. So if you don't have a proper system, you don't get the right product out. So it's very important that you develop your system accordingly in line with the requirements of the standard. Show that you're not just prepared, but you are you can implement this. You have implemented this particular procedure, and then once you are ready, we will come as an independent third party to actually come and conduct the audits and to award that particular certification. So, so generally speaking, we have worked with many companies in Malaysia for GRS and also RCS, mainly GRS. So we have worked with about 20 large-scale manufacturers in plastic from Malaysia. So most of them has, it can be, depends on how prepared you are. Some are very, they have very robust systems in place already. So for them to roll out and be ready for this audits, just take like about 1 month. But certain companies who are embarking the journey of sustainability at the very first, we have seen that they have taken 6 months, even to 1 year for them to actually get ready to get the system done for them to go for certification. Because RCS is relatively easy because we are looking into content of the product only. But the real, the tricky part comes when it comes to GRS, because it talks about social and environmental concerns and the chemical concerns as well. And especially the social concerns in Malaysia, as you know, is very tricky. So especially on the overtimes, the forced labor concerns and all these things, so company takes a bit more time to prepare to have a good system in place.
There seems to be an overlap between SMETA and GRS. How is that?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. So we, as a certification body, we are one of the largest certification bodies offering SMETA as well. So that's why I was telling when I started up the conversation, certification can be single attribute or multiple attribute. So if we say a program like SMETA, it only talks about social compliance. And if you go for SMETA 4-pillar, it also talks about environmental and the governance related parts as well, but not in detail. GRS is more tailored to the recycling industry itself. So it's an industry specific standard. So we see the similar nature of different types of certification programs in the same field. So like what I was sharing, so in plastics also, there are about 7-8 schemes to choose from, which in more or less there's an overlap. So it all comes down to what the buyers demand, because META is actually for SEDEX members, SEDEX member ethical trading audit. So when you are exporting to those markets, when your buyers requiring you to do robust, specific social compliance assessment, then you'll have to subscribe to SMETA, RAP, or even advanced social programs like RSB. But GRS is generally well received among all the recycling sectors, whether it's textile is a major contributor. So out of the 10,000 companies certified, almost 9,000 companies are related to PET, polyester, recycling oriented towards textiles. And the other sector is actually rubber and the general plastic, even large players in Malaysia like Tongguang, TG, most of these companies are already certified for the GRS, so they can have multiple claims, because it all comes down to how you communicate, what's the message that you want to communicate, how you brand yourself. So that's what motivates the decision making.
Yeah, I like what you say about becoming a shield instead of a shield becoming a sword. I think that really is very important for us to remember that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Supun. I have a question for Encik Faizul. Encik Faizul, of all the ISCC that you have shared, especially in Malaysia, may I know how many are those in plastics industries?
Okay, thanks, Ms. Wee. Okay, I can say for ISCC Plus certification, 90% is coming from the plastic industry for ISCC Plus certification. Because of for others segment or other market, it covered under ISCC certification. Yeah. Okay.
Right. So again, my question. Okay. So like I can't help it but to relate to those days when we do ISO 9000. You know, almost the first certification in the manufacturing, right? So during those days, I remember. Well, there is a hand-holding period, you know, where there's a trainer, you know, to organize us and, you know, to take us part by part. And when we're ready, that's where we get certifying body like SGS and control union to come in. Is that how we should view this as well?
Okay, as mentioned by Mr. Supun, in order for you to get certified, you have to be ready. Okay, I always mention to my client, I always divided to two parts. First, your readiness, your preparation, and then go for the certification. So in order for you to be ready, you need to find maybe the companies or maybe the consultant or trainer guide, or you can directly go to ISCC. ISCC basically offer training directly under ISCC. So you can subscribe the training directly under ISCC, then start prepare your teams internally. Then concurrently, you can talk to the any certification, any recognized certification body listed in the ISCC website. That talk to them can be SGS, can be control union, can be other company, certification body. From there, we can proceed for the certification.
Okay. So just to impress Mr. Sham, may I ask, I know we are not talking about, you're not supposed to be talking about numbers, but just a ballpark figure so that the bankers are ready when we go to them, you know. Can you let us know, like if we are, because most of the MPMA members are converters, right?
Okay.
Actually, my next question is, which of so many ICC Plus and then, you know, the 4 from control union, GRS and all that, if we want to focus on plastic converters, yeah, we are not talking about petrochemical plants, we're not talking about brand owners, plastic converters, what is the most relevant? Because plastic converters, we are talking about right now, most of us need to use this recycled content. Yeah.
Okay.
So it can come from Mr. Supun or Encik Faizul. Yeah. So which certificate that or which standard is most relevant to the plastic converters?
Yeah, Faizul, if you're okay, I will go first. So when it comes to, because like what you said, the key initial step is for them to declare how much pre or post consumer recycled material is actually in their product. That's the bare minimum what's the requirement in the plastic industry. So for that, they can easily choose recycle claim standard, which is only talking about the claim in the product, how much recycled content is there. But it is not sustainable, because sustainability is a commonly misused word. So we don't prefer even to talk sustainability. We would like to say responsibly, because plastic is actually an industry which is highly hazardous, and we have a lot of cases in Malaysia as well, which has actually contributed to social and environmental concerns. So first thing, describing your claim. So RCS is a good tool to use. If you want to actually demonstrate your sustainability, then GRS, ISCC PLUS, OBP, ocean-bound plastic, which is tailored for ocean plastic branding exercise for ocean plastic. So those can be the advanced versions that you can choose. You were telling a question. Okay, those days everybody has ISO 9001. Okay, but that's not something that is being discussed very much at the moment, because when we take certifications as a broad, there are system certifications, there are product certifications. So when it comes to product certification, it can carry a product label. So when it carries a product label, it enhances your branding ability. So that is the key driver for the product certification schemes to evolve. But most of these schemes are recognizing the concepts of ISO 9001, emphasizes the need to have proper management systems in place. So that's how the schemes have actually evolved. It's more into branding exercise, demonstrating that you are doing better compared with your peers.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Super. Going back again quickly on recycle claim standard, I saw that you mentioned that like if you are using 95% or more recycled content, then it's more relevant, because right now, I mean, depending on industry, different industry of the plastic converters, I mean, different types of plastic converters. For example, the film manufacturing and, the rigid plastics, our ability to add in the percentage of recycled content may be different. So what I'm trying to say is, if a converter is putting in about 15 to 20% of post-consumer waste, do you think it's worth to go for RCS or no?
It's all about how prepared you are. If let's say, for an example, your entire recycled plastic is all post-consumer recycled, then of course you can move into the higher norms like RCS 100 or GRS and likewise. But we believe is actually on continual improvement. So you have to start small, then you have to build up your supply chain, incoming feedstock material. Okay, then you venture from virgin plastics to recycled plastic. It takes some time, but the certification programs have evolved in a way, especially the RCS blended has evolved in a way to demonstrate that particular progress. So the ideal would be the RCS 100 labels to achieve. But at least if you have started up with 5% all the way up to 95% of recycled content being blended, you can already start branding yourself. Hey, see, I've started using recycled material, reclaimed material. So when it comes to GRS, the labeling thresholds, the product has to minimum carry 20% of recycled plastic. But for you to carry the label, it has to contain minimum 50% of recycled plastic. So you can be certified with 20%, having a valid certificate, communicating that claim to your next in line in your supply chain. But when you want to carry a label, you need to have minimum 50%. So these are ways that you can use to claim. We have seen many companies starting with RCS and then later evolving into GRS, so they can demonstrate their sustainability in a bit more broader way.
Oh, thank you. That's really important for us to know. Okay, Encik Fazul, are you able to give us a rough estimate of how much we should ask the banker for financing for, let's say, ISS Plus? Encik Fazul?
Okay, pardon, what is your question?
Okay, let's on a ballpark figure. How much would the company need to pay or be ready for ISS Plus?
Okay, okay. In terms of cost, we are talking about at least two costs. First, related to the training and consultation can be done under a different body. Then certification costs. In terms of when we are talking specifically to ICC, we have we divided two costs, which is under certification body cost, and ICC fees is set, meaning that there are certain fees which need to be paid to the to ICC. I'm only talking about the certification fees plus the ICC fees, because of the ICC fee is structured fees by ICC, which is consistent to any certification bodies. Any certification body, recognized certification body under ICC will use the same ICC fees under ICC. However, audit fees, administrative fees, technical review fees will be different between the certification body. It's very varied, but if you ask me, the roughly cost for this both not include the training and the consultation on the preparation part, I would say that it's not more than 5,000 euro.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, Ching, sorry, maybe I just want to address your earlier question that you asked about for UOB, what the certification do we look? So we are okay to look at let's see, we have a responsible care program, RCS, GRS, and there's lastly is the international sustainability and carbon certification for circular economy. So these are the 4 certification we are open with. Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much. So if based on, so the ICC fee is the renewal fee every year, right, Encik Faizul?
Yes, every year because of the cert validity is 1 year. You can continue it if you think it's what you call it, benefit to you, then continue it. If not, you can stop it after the certificate validity is expired. Okay, then definitely every year we will do the what we call it a recertification audit compared to the normal ISO standard, which is have the validity of 3 years. Every year they will go for the civilian audit, but for ICC every year we call it a recertification audit.
Okay, and how much would that cost?
It's almost the same. It's almost the same.
5,000 euro?
Yeah, and not more than 5,000 euro.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I don't have any more questions. Is there any question on the chat box? Okay, no. Okay, I want to refer back. Just now there's a question to ask whether control union is being accepted in the EU. I think can Mr. Supun maybe clarify, because how is control union as a certifying body and then versus all these international standards, yeah, and certification? I think we are not looking just at EU. So all the certifications that you presented today, is it a worldwide accepted?
These are actually worldwide accepted certification programs, because we say Vera is actually base is actually US, ISCC is actually Germany. So being the largest certification body for plastics globally, our certificates are accepted all across the world. So and we also work with various working groups within the European Commission as well, but we are not part of European Commission, even though we are a company based in Europe. So yeah, that's basically how it works.
Okay. Last question.
Also to provide my inputs on the previous question on the finances needed. Sometime back during the COVID time, there were incentive schemes being opened by Martrade, and likewise it was even at that time providing financial assistance up to 30,000 ringgit if you are subscribing to any international accepted certification. So the schemes like RCS, GRS, ISCC, which are intended towards export markets, were covered under that particular scheme of Martrade. So it would be very nice if, since there's a renewed interest into that, if the industry associations can also discuss with the government authorities, together with the public and private financiers like Mr. Sham, to basically create that particular ecosystem, so it incentivizes more and more recycling operations to be driven into sustainability, because even if you see, like Chepaisul was actually saying, ISCC, we have about 100, I would say about 100, maximum about 80 to 100 plastic companies who are certified at the moment in Malaysia. Among all certification bodies, GRS we have about 20 companies, RCS we have about another 10 companies. So it's very small compared with the scale of the recycling operations in Malaysia, because Malaysia is actually a recycling hotspot. So everything comes into Malaysia for recycling. So that's where Maria and all the other institutions are also working. So, and I remember the previous minister was very adamant of stopping Malaysia being a dumping site. So it's very important to actually drive the industry towards sustainability. So there needs to have instruments available. So the costs inherent in certification, because it's not just paying to the certification body, but it's also the time and the resources you need to prepare yourselves as well to facilitate on that. Just to share another good example, like when MSPO, Malaysia Sustainable Palm Oil, was actually launched, and likewise, it was completely absorbed by MPOCC and through a financial instrument opened up by the government through MPIC. So those are so industries pushed. So not just the stick, but also the carrot. So the carrot comes first and the stick comes next. So maybe those are things that the industry partners can actually discuss, and we are very happy to be a part.
Thank you. That's very important information. That's very important information, Mr. Supun. I think, yeah. And you wonder why, you know, the uptake is so slow. Every year, 5,000 euro compared to what we do for renewal of ISO 9000 cert or 14,000 cert. This is something very, very expensive. Okay, but nevertheless, I think this is something that we cannot, we cannot not go into. I truly believe, yeah, it's a matter of time and how are we going to do it. So I would love to continue this session. I have a lot of questions, to be honest, but I'm sure MPMA will work more in depth with SGS and Control Union to talk further. You know, how do we encourage our people and how do we help them, our members, to go into this certification? Because to be honest, the way I see it, you really have to go. You really have to move on. Just like those days, like I said, ISO and the various types of ISO, you don't have a choice, put it that way. All right, thank you so much, Mr. Supun, Encik Faisal, and Mr. Sham for joining us today. We are running 10 minutes out of time. Very, very nice to have your expert view and this exchange of ideas. Yeah, so thank you very much. And I want to pass this to Shalini.
A big thank you to Ms. Wee for moderating our webinar today, and to Encik Eddie, Mr. Supun, Encik Faisal, and Mr. Sham for your valuable sharing. To all participants, we hope the webinar today has been beneficial to you on how you can elevate your company's environmental stewardship through sustainability certifications. Please do not forget to answer the survey so that MPMA could design our upcoming certification program based on your interests. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.